Hi, everyone. Thank you once again for taking the time to join us and watch this video. And today we're going to be looking at personal financial strategies, learning what it is and how you can utilize it in your personal finances and your life, of course. And as normal, I will be switching off my camera and then moving towards the recording, right, in terms of sharing my screen. Let us see. Okay. All right, there we go. And then we can start. Okay, let's see. Okay, personal financial strategy, right? This is actually a very nice topic. I like this topic quite a lot because, I mean, it's important for a person to actually have some form of a strategy when it comes to their personal finances and business finances, of course. Like, all the information that we normally share in all the classes that I've actually done, that information is interchangeably used, be it on a personal capacity or on a business capacity. Right, let's jump right into it. Okay, so what is a personal financial strategy, right? So of course, this is a plan. Okay, I mean, you can't say you have a goal to what I want to save 100,000 rand in the next 2 years. I have a goal in mind, but I don't have a plan as to how to achieve that goal. So the entire purpose of personal financial strategy is that you have some form of a plan to help yourself learn, work towards achieving the goals that you've set, right? In terms of financial goals that you've set. Just like in anything in life, I mean, you can't say you want to achieve something and not have a goal, and not have a plan as to how you're going to achieve it. So basically, that's just what a financial strategy is. It's a plan that helps you achieve the goals that you've set, right? And then, of course, if your goal, for example, is reducing debt, so then you would need to have some form of a plan. Be it if I say that I need to reduce a credit card debt, right? And I thank heavens I don't have a credit card. I've never had one. It's one of those debts that I try to stay away from, but I digress. So you'd want to actually have a plan. How are you going to achieve this reduction of this credit card? So one of the things that you might consider, of course, in terms of your budget is to see how much of disposable income do you have left over after you've paid all your expenses, right? What that means is that we've done the budget so many times and we've had discussions regarding the budget, right? If you've missed those classes, you can just go on our channel and you'll be able to look at the budgeting lessons and be able to catch up. So once you've created your budget, it will give you a better understanding in terms of how much money do you have left over after you've paid your expenses. So that will then give you an indication, can you afford to pay a little bit more when it comes to your credit card debt or any form of debt that you're trying to reduce, right? Because I mean, it's not going to make any sense and it will defeat the purpose if you are going to just take money out of your budget without actually seeing if you can afford to do so or not. Okay. So of course, starting off the budget is the very important thing. And that will give you a great indication as to can I afford to do this or not. And another example could be if you want to save, okay? You are planning to save and you want to achieve this goal, what would your strategy be? Be it, okay, I need to save an additional 500 Rand a month towards the specific goal that I've put in place. Okay. I want to reduce debt. Maybe I want to reduce what is it, my entertainment allowance, right? Then it means that okay, I'm only going to allow myself to eat out twice a month, right? That's a plan because that's a strategy. Okay, this is how I'm going to be able to achieve what I want to achieve when it comes to my financial goal, right? And then it's important, of course, to understand the financial life cycle first before developing your personal financial strategy, right? Because it helps. I mean, the purpose of a financial life cycle is that it kind of gives you an indication where are you, where should you be in life, because um, that this way you are able to then better gauge what are you doing with your money. Okay. And going through the financial life cycle is something that we're going to be going through is in the next coming slides, where we're going to be actually dissecting, the different stages of life. And that also then gives you a better indication as to where should you be when it comes to your financial decisions as an individual, right? Based on which phase of your life you're in, okay? Which ties in hand with a personal financial strategy, right? I mean, for argument's sake, I mean, if you are a 35-year-old, the financial decisions you're making is not going to be the same as a 25-year-old. The 25-year-old's financial decisions are not going to be the same as a 45-year-old, right? Or an 80-year-old, right? Because these individuals are all in different stages of life. And of course, the way they view money and what they do with money will, of course, be different. Okay. Um, then the benefits of a personal financial strategy, right? Firstly, it helps, right? It's essential for navigating economic challenges. Okay. I mean, guys, we've had so many challenges in the past 5 years. I mean, it's been 5 years since we've had the pandemic. I know it's shocking. Then we've had so many other things that have impacted us, global on a global scale. And that, of course, impacts our wallets at the end of the day. So when you have a financial strategy, you are working towards a plan to help you achieve these financial goals that you've set, all right? So part of that is that it helps you navigate, some of these economic challenges that you could face. And then, of course, rising costs, inflation, right? And so much uncertainty. I mean, so many people lost their jobs during the pandemic, after the pandemic, right? And some people are still trying to recover from that. And so having this, strategy to help you better navigate your finances, to help you reach these financial goals is important. And that's one of the benefits and some of the benefits that you have, or that you get if you have a personal financial strategy in place. Okay. Okay, right. Let's look at having a solid strategy improves financial stability and reduces stress, of course. I mean, look at it this way, guys. I mean, everybody's going through something in life, right? If you're not going through something personally, someone who's going through something close to you, be it a friend, cousin, family member, what sort. But initially, in essence, um, not having a plan and a strategy for your finances, it does actually help. It does actually put you at risk, for financial stress and financial stability and instability in that case, because when things like a job loss come up, then you don't have a plan in place. You see where the problems comes in. Unlike you having a personal financial strategy where you're focusing on certain goals that you've set for yourself for the next 5 years, for argument's sake, and you've now put in these different strategies in place to help you achieve those goals. So that reduces a bit of stress because it kind of gives your money a bit of more purpose and direction. And it actually helps. It helps you navigate these kind of challenges better. I mean, thinking about the fact that we always talk about having saved up at least 3 to 6 months worth of your income in a case of a job loss, right? Then you know that you can sustain yourself because I mean, in this tough economy with such a high unemployment rate, it takes people more than 3 months to get a job. So if you haven't saved at least 3 months worth of income, as a safety net or as an emergency fund, then you are going to be in a situation where you are financially unstable, right? And it's going to cause you a lot of stress because now you've got stress of finding a job and stress of the fact that you don't have money to pay your current bills and so forth and so forth. So it just keeps, going and going and going. So when you have this personal financial strategy, you're kind of putting plans in place and contingencies in place to actually circumvent certain situations that you don't have any control over. All right. And then, for example, it also helps with financial planning. Okay. And it's good for financial planning in a sense that, for example, if I mean, I don't have any kids yet. I plan to get married and have kids. And that's part of my personal financial strategy because there's financial implications for doing such things, right? So that's helping me plan financially in terms of my future. So it's important, and it's actually a benefit when you start thinking about your goals and not just having the goals, but having plans towards achieving those goals so that you make a bit more informed decisions when it comes to your money. And what that basically means is that you start prioritizing your prioritizing things differently because now that you know that you want to buy a house in the next 2 years, you're going to start making different financial decisions, right? This year. You're going to start going out less. You're going to start saving towards a deposit, start saving towards the attorney fees, registration fees, transfer fees related to the purchase of this property, right? And that is part of the plan. So if you don't make changes in your life now, you're not going to be able to accommodate that plan the goal that you're trying to achieve. So that's why having some form of personal financial strategy is important because it's a plan that you've put in place to help you achieve this particular goal, right? Um, and let's see. Okay, so I want us to look at what is a financial life cycle, right? So, like I said, the financial life cycle just basically it's looking at the different phases of of your life, right? And it's just giving an indication around what you should be doing, what kind of decisions should I be making, right? Because it's important. That way, it also gives you a bit more direction, okay? And you not stop living willy-nilly in terms of the decisions that you are making, okay? Let's look at the financial life cycle. So this is a copy of a financial life cycle, right? Um, Right, of course, early childhood, of course, your parents are normally responsible for you at that point in your life. High school, college, or university, your parents are still actually more involved and financially responsible for you at that point in your life. But, once you finish matric, be it you start studying or you get a job, then the responsibility starts falling on you in terms of self-sustaining. Okay. And then, of course, when you start working and so forth. So basically, what I want us to look at is the different stages, of course, and then looking at the kind of decisions that you should be making, right, when it comes to this part of your life, right? It's better indication of what should be happening. So the forming phase, right, which of course it's normally the ages between 23 and 39, depending if how early you started school or how late you finished school. For example, if you finished high school at 17 or 18, some people 16, then it depends when you start if you go to university or college to further your studies, then that also then depends in terms of when you finish, right? So normally roughly the age is 23, right? That just took the average as 23 years old. People would normally finish their degrees by then and start working, okay? And so from 23 to 39 years, that's about 16 years of your life. So this is normally the forming stage. And unfortunately now, with the high unemployment rate, a lot of young people are still stuck at home without a job and they are beyond the age of 23, right? So, of course, now, which makes their forming like it kind of disrupts their different phases because now, if you start working, for example, at the age of 27, right? And now you're working from the age of 27, and this is where you are meant to be doing a lot of your firsts. So if you start working at the age of 27, unfortunately, I mean, you're going to, depending on the salary that you could be earning, right, for your first job, it might take you about 2 to 3 years to actually purchase your first car, right? You see how it then delays a few things that you do in life, okay? So basically, the forming stage is just to give you an understanding of this is where you do a lot of your firsts. You get a first job, you get a first car, you get your first home, right? If you are fortunate enough, right? And this is an important phase because a lot of people make poor financial decisions in this phase. And that's what comes back and bites them later in their life, right? Because, I mean, it's their first job. They are now financially independent. They want to buy the best car. They want to, they buy fancy clothes to wear at work and so forth and so forth. And then the debt starts piling up, right? You get introduced to credit cards and other forms of unsecured lending. And of course, instead of, because people are not aware of the disadvantages, of being over indebted at this point in their lives, then of course they then fall under, that unfortunate statistic of young people that are over indebted, right? Before the age of 35. And it's such a sad statistic, right? Because, the poor financial decisions that people are making at that point in time. But if you're able to manage your finances well at the forming phase, then it actually gears you up well for the growth phase. Because now, when you are at a better state in your life, in a sense that the growth phase, looking at the ages between 40 and 55, right? In that period, I mean, you've been by the age of 40. So, for example, let's say a person who started working at the age of 21, at the age of 25, right? They struggle to get a job because of the unemployment rate. They start working at the age of 25, right? That person from the age of 25 and up until they're 40, they've been working for 15 years, right? When they are 40, they've been working for 15 years. So that person they've gained a bit of experience, right? So the experience actually equals growth, because now you are able to actually apply for better opportunities and more jobs, right? And better jobs, of course. So this is more likely the period of your life where you'll be getting managerial positions and so forth, and moving up, the corporate ladder. And as a result, then you are able to actually start looking at different options in terms of finances. For example, this is the time of your life people start considering talking to financial advisors, investment bankers, and so forth, because their income bracket, has taken a huge jump because of the phase of their lives. Because now they've had a few jobs, right, during their forming stage. They had a few jobs then. Now that they're in the growth phase, they are now being considered for higher positions. And of course, as a result, their salary increases and they move up to a few tax brackets. Okay. And so the decisions and the kind of decisions that these individuals are making are more towards growth, right? This is the time people considering that, oh, actually, maybe let's get a second property as an investment. What are the investment opportunities that are available for us to actually put money aside for retirement? Because this is the phase of your life where you've now gained a bit of more wisdom. You've burnt yourself a little, hopefully not, in the forming phase. And so now that you are at the growth phase of your life, you are a bit wiser. So the financial decisions that you should be making should correlate. I mean, it would not make any sense. I know a lot of people might think this is a bit dodge, but it does kind of baffle me sometimes if I see 40 above, people who are above the age of 40, for example, in the clubs, and I see videos of them on TikTok or on Twitter or something trending regarding the bottles they're popping and so forth. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, why are you popping bottles at some club or something? Why this is the time where you should be growth, right? You should be trying new things, trying new things, not in the sense of clubbing. I think you should have been clubbing when you were in your 20s or early, varsity. Those are the years where you should be actually clubbing and so forth. Because I mean, I can't. I mean, I can't see myself actually going to a club, excuse me, after varsity. I stopped clubbing. I was like, yeah, nope, I'm done, right? Because I thought that I was entering a new phase of my life, because now I'm starting to go to work. I do not have the energy to be partying the entire weekend, wake up on Sunday to go to church. Then on Monday, I go to work. It's just going to exhaust me. So I now used my weekends to just relax, plan my week, and then just try new things. So this is the time of your life where don't you want to be trying new things? I mean, you get a new hobby, okay? Because I mean, looking at the age 40, right? You are already looking down the barrel towards retirement. So you should already start thinking about what am I going to be doing when I retire? Okay. And I know people don't want to ramp things down, but then consider trying something new. I mean, learning a new skill. I mean, it's a digital age. Why not take up a new skill, get a new degree, right? Or take up a new hobby that something that can carry you during your retirement years, right? So this is the time where you should be considering such things. For me, being 40 something year old or above 40 and still being in a club is a bit it's a bit weird for me. But hey, I'm not judging. But from my point of view and my advice would be, come on, I mean, use that time to just learn something new, better yourself, because this is where you're meant to be growing. I don't see how you are growing by going to a club. But okay, let me stop the club. Let me stop the club questioning. But basically, I think you get my point. You're meant to be making more decisions around your growth as an individual. You learn a new hobby, you learn a new skill, right? You maybe go and get a second degree, a third degree. Think about starting a side hustle or opening a business. That's around growth, right? Doing something different and something that can better your quality of life and help you better prepare for retirement, right? And this is the time where you need to just be exploring these kind of opportunities. This is the time you need to actually consider, do you plan to maybe travel, right? When you are in retirement, this is the time that you start planning towards such things, okay? Because when retirement comes, unfortunately, unfortunately, that's what normally happens with people when they get to the retirement age, they don't have a plan. And as a result, when they retire, I mean, now, I mean, I just recently heard over the news and I was reading about it that a new law has passed here in South Africa where um, your organization can actually ask you to retire once you reach retirement age, which is 55. So, I mean, I remember when I was still in corporate, there were individuals that were above the age of 55 because retirement age starts, 55 and above. I think 65 is normally the cutoff. That's when you're okay. Thank you. Bye bye. But now, by the age of 55, I mean, your organization can say, hey, thank you for your service, right? And you do not need to initiate that. And I think maybe the other reason that is happening is because maybe it's going to help reduce the unemployment rate a little bit, because now if we get rid of all the people who are above the age of 55, then we can get young people into the workforce, I think. I'm just thinking in my mind. But so if you could be us, I mean, if you're 55 this year and you don't have, and you were not planning to retire, right? You thought that I still have 10 years because I'm planning to retire in 10 years time, which is the age of 65. What happens then? Right? What happens if at the end of the year, your manager says, hey, you get called into the office and say, hey, at the end of the year, we will no longer need your services, and you don't have a leg to stand on because that's just the new law, right? So this is why it's important to start thinking, about the financial decisions that you're making, right? And planning towards your retirement. Okay. So of course, like I was saying, that focusing on hobbies, right? Because a lot of people, when they are hit with retirement, they never have a plan. And it's so sad when you hear people say that, oh, I'm retired, and you find out, what are you doing now? And they don't have an answer. They're like, oh, I just don't know what to do with myself. And you can just hear, how bored or how they feel as if they just have no purpose anymore. So it's nobody's responsibility to give you a purpose but your own, right? Um, so you need to be able to give yourself some form of a purpose after retirement, right? Figure out what your interests are. Focus on your hobbies. Okay. If you don't have any hobbies, then this is the time to explore the different hobbies that are available. Something that could interest you or spark an interest. Traveling, right? Depending on your financial stability and your finances and how well you've planned for retirement, then traveling could be another option. Some people actually consider downsizing, okay, in terms of, no, not the movie downsizing, but that movie is quite fun as well. But downsizing in the sense of, reducing their lifestyle or cutting back in terms of their current lifestyle. So, for example, you had kids and these kids are now grown and they're all out of the house. They just come and visit, one by one at that point in time. And maybe you might think of downsizing the household. Instead of living in this huge 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom house, you might want to just purchase maybe a nice small apartment somewhere. Go into a retirement home, right? Those are very popular now because there's so many facilities and amenities that are around that can cater for people. Because, I mean, as you grow older in terms of your age, then it means there are certain things that you are no longer able to just do for yourself. So in terms of independence, right? Your independence, it's challenged a bit because sometimes, unfortunately, people get ill, right? And they develop certain illnesses. So they might need medical assistance and so forth. So living, alone in a huge house is not necessarily ideal. So considering downsizing and moving into a smaller apartment, still having a guest bedroom for one of the kids or the kids if they come and visit, moving into a retirement community is also a nice idea because that gives you a great opportunity to meet new people because now you're living in this community where everybody's of the same age. There's different facilities that are put in place to entertain and so forth. Then it actually takes away the burden of you trying to figure out what am I going to do with myself, right? And I know a lot of people have a negative connotation when it comes to retirement homes because they're like, oh, it's like an old village. But no, I mean, there's so many nice retirement homes that they have now, these retirement villages that they have, and they have all these beautiful amenities that they have to accommodate people and just make just your retirement years fun, and something that you can enjoy. So traveling, like I said, depending on the size of your pocket, starting a business, this one is a bit tricky because, I mean, depending what business it is, yes, of course, sure, if you want to start a little garden and start selling tomatoes, but there's certain risks that are involved with, starting doing things like starting a business because, I mean, there are certain times of your life where you can no longer afford to take certain risks. And I remember I had this conversation with my partner the other time, and he was saying that, losing a job in your early 30s is not a train smash because at that point in time, if you don't have any responsibilities other than taking care of yourself, it's not much of a risk. It becomes a problem as you grow older because now when you look for a job, I mean, people look at your age. I mean, when you are applying for a job, your employer looks at your age and says, hey, am I going to be able to actually hire this person? Versus, I mean, I'm hiring a 50-year-old person who I could ask to retire in 5 years. So why would I train a 50-year person versus me hiring a 35-year-old person who's probably going to be able to work for another good 20 years in the organization before I can actually ask them to leave after 55, right? So those are the kind of decisions, people make when it comes to now finding new jobs and so forth. So when you are making decisions and financial decisions, you look at these different things and what also has a great impact in terms of age. Starting a business. I mean, when I started my business, right, it was just after COVID. I was young and as a young person it's better because I don't have any other responsibility aside from myself. If I had a kid, I don't think I would have quit my job to start a business, right? Because I had someone else to actually consider and look after. But now, because I look after only myself, right? Selfish of me, but it kind of made things a bit easier. Because the decisions I had to make only impacted me as an individual. But now, if you have a family to consider, there are certain decisions that it's not easy for you to make, right? So that's why I'm saying starting a business at retirement is a bit of a risk. Okay. Sure, if you've got millions sitting in the bank and you're just bored and you're just looking for something to do, yes, you have that option and flexibility. However, if you've retired, right, and yes, you've got your kids working and so forth, but now you've got, you don't have that much of a retirement fund to carry you for the next 30 years and you are thinking of starting a business, it's not advisable because I mean it's quite a risk for you to take. And the other thing is that I mean if you've got kids who you've looked after and taught and so forth and they've grown up, you also don't want to be some form of financial burden to them, right? So I know this is a very touchy subject. Some people will be like, yeah, no, these kids should take care of me. I took care of them. Yeah, but I mean, as parents, don't you want your kids to be better than you, right? Don't you wish your child to have a better life than you did, right? And how are they going to be able to achieve that if they are not given or afforded the opportunity to do so without any additional financial burdens, right? Because currently, I'm sure they also have other things that they are going on in their own lives. They are renting property, or they are paying for property they own. They are paying for their vehicle. They are traveling. They're doing this to actually better their own lives, depending which stage of their lives they're in. So you also don't want to actually now be a burden on top of that. So planning for retirement is important. And that's why we look at this financial life cycle so that it kind of helps a person start thinking, about what am I going to do, after retirement? When I retire, what's happening? Oh, yeah, after retirement, you'll just be chilling at home, of course, but you get tired of it. Okay. I mean, I remember when my mom retired, she started she has a garden, she joined a few societies and she got a bit active. She played soccer. She's very active because I mean you also don't want to just be sitting at home and watching television all day. Firstly, that's going to be boring. Secondly, it's not going to be giving you a reason to live because you're going to feel as if you don't have some form of purpose. So it's important for you to be able to actually plan, towards, your retirement so that you don't feel like your life has ended just because you don't work anymore. Yes, you don't work in that particular office anymore, but it does not mean that your life is over. So you now need to plan to do better and do something more. I mean, this could be your second act, right? I remember there was an advert on, I think, I don't remember, it's one of the insurance companies where the guy was like in his 80s, right? He was in his 80s and he's talking like he's a teenager. And he says, no, he was 100. Yeah, no, he was in his 80s. And so he was complaining to his dad, saying that he's tired of being a pilot or something like that. He wants to do something cool with his life, because I mean, he's still got a long way to go. And so the tagline of the ad was that, what is your retirement plan? What if you had to live up until you were 200, right? So now it kind of put things in perspective because if you think about it, if you lived up until the age of 200, then it means you could have like three, four, five, six careers or different careers in that lifespan, right? So why should we look at retirement as an end, right? Maybe let's look at retirement as a beginning of something new, right? And that's why I'm saying that it's a great time to focus on hobbies, traveling, or of course starting a business depending on your financial stability as an individual, right? Because we also don't want to see those kind of situations where people unfortunately are still working, right? It's a bit sad sometimes when you are in the office and you see an old person who is probably like in their late 60s still working or coming in for a part-time job there. And of course, yes, we understand that they're coming in because maybe they don't have something else to do. But normally in those cases, it's usually because the person cannot afford to retire, right? So that's why planning towards retirement is very important. And with the statistics saying that only, I think it's less than 10%, it's 10% or less of the population of the working class in South Africa are adequately prepared to retire. And that's a very sad statistic. I mean, if we think about it, if we say 10 million, right, is part of the working class, if they say 10% of 10 million is only a million, right? So meaning only a million people can afford to actually retire out of a population, a working class population of 10 million. That is a sad statistic, right? Okay, so I want us to look at this example just to actually illustrate what we've been talking about, right? So here's Mbali, she's 30 years old and she's a manager, and she's trying to make a few lifestyle changes to help her better manage her personal finances. So she developed some form of financial strategy to help her reach her financial goal. So remember, I said financial strategy is a plan, okay? So I wanted to show you how you could better, structure this type of a plan. So the financial goal in this one side, and she's got what I do to achieve the goals. So first of all, pay off the bond in 10 years. So that's a nice goal to have. She wants to pay off a bond in 10 years. So what can she do to achieve this? She can increase her monthly payments towards the bond by 3,000 Rand, because this is a calculation you can do to determine, to determine when you can pay off the bond. If you want to pay it off in 10 years, there's a calculation that you can do to actually determine how much you need to repay that is extra towards the bond. So how will she do it? So you see, she's going to create a stop order for 1,000 Rand to be paid to her home loan account every month. So you see, it's not just her having a wish list, and that's why the financial goal is important. Financial goal and financial strategy is important because when you have a financial strategy, it then removes or moves this goal from being some form of a wish list and moves it towards something that is achievable and attainable. Because now she's got a plan in place. She knows what she's going to do, and now she also knows how she's going to achieve this, right? Another one, she wants to pay off her vehicle in 3 years. So, what is she going to do? She can increase her monthly payments by 1,000 Rand, and then how she's going to do that, she's going to create another stop order towards the vehicle finance account that is going to be going and paying their vehicle finance account directly every month. So remember, guys, a stop order is similar to a debit order. The only thing is that you initiate it. So it's like a self-initiated debit order, which always works best because you don't then need to transfer the money, manually. So you go to the bank, you ask them to load a stop order for you, you give them the account that the money will be debited from, and the account the money should be credited to. And the bank will do it on their side automatically, and then it just takes away the hassle of you having to do the transfers. Okay. And then another example, she wants to increase retirement. So you see, these are all her financial goals. She wants to increase retirement savings. So she wants to contribute an additional 1,500. Oof, this Mbali person has money, right? She wants to increase her, what is it? Contributions, 1,500 towards the retirement annuity. Okay. And then, so she'll speak to a financial advisor to increase the debit order, or maybe take up a new retirement annuity plan besides the one she currently has, right? And then save for an annual vacation, right? So she can open a vacation savings account. So no, there's no such thing as a vacation account, but you can just open a savings account. And I know that banks can allow, you can actually name your account even on your what is it, when you're opening the account, you can actually name it, even I think on your not the banking app, but if you go on the website, you can actually change when you go to your banking application, you can actually name that particular account. I mean, which gives you a good motivation every time you have to transfer or contribute money into that particular account, right? So, and the last one, she wants to reduce her entertainment. Oh, this is how she's planning to also fund these lavish the financial goals, is that she plans to reduce her entertainment, every month by 1,000 Rand, which is another way. Because I mean, guys, there's certain things you could possibly be doing when it comes to your finances that does not make sense, that you could actually live without, right? So I hope you were able to actually take some form of learnings from this lesson. And of course, please check out our other classes regarding personal finances. We've got a whole range of classes that you can look into. And if you missed this class, you'd want to recap and watch it again, of course, it's available on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. Thank you again for taking the time. Bye.